Things change. Countries evolve. People adapt. For instance, the occasion of a dance has shifted from a bright, ordered ball to a dark and chaotic rave. Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice includes all of the steps of a relationship moving towards marriage. However, many of these steps are outdated as society's morals and interests change. Courtship has evolved, for the better, we argue. This evolution takes place in 4 steps, ordered in our presentation as they occur in a relationship. The differences in these categories are what make Pride and Prejudice largely irrelevant to modern readers, correlating to a lack of necessity for this book as an academic text. Oh, single, my dear, to be sure. A single man of large fortune, 4,000 or 5,000 a year.
Lily!
Pride and Prejudice,
Lily, what
page 2.
about listening at the door? Never mind that. There's Mr. Bingley arrived from the north. 5,000 a year.
It's pretty clear what she's aiming for here.
Single!
This attitude typifies what men and women look for in one another: money and status. In our time, however, we are more interested in our partner's physical appearance and whether or not the skills they have are similar rather than complementary to ours. Genuine friendship is now a staple in relationships rather than a forced afterthought. Status and wealth still play a role, but that role is minuscule in comparison to what it was. In short, there are many more requirements and complexities when deciding on a mate today, as the meaningfulness of marriage has expanded throughout the ages. When beginning a relationship, the customs were significantly more formal. The prospective male would first need to ask the permission of the female's father whether or not he could pursue her hand. Then would begin a long series of courting, wherein the male and female would get to know one another, often under supervision. Nowadays, we have broadened our styles. There are 2 methods: shallow and deep relationships. The first can be seen here. The male approaches the female, and escalation is quick. The second, deeper version of a relationship is closer in appearance to the older style: a slow approach, a slow build-up, and a more personal relationship. In Pride and Prejudice, there are few displays of affection, yet the ones that appear are noteworthy. In one case, Mr. Bingley throws a party for Jane just to show his interest in. In another case, Mr. Darcy secretly pays a pesky scoundrel to marry Elizabeth's idiotic sister to avoid damage to the Bennet family name. In these, we can see that though gestures of love may be fewer, as there is no kissing or hugging, they are much grander. Now, however, physical gestures are significantly more prevalent, and gifts are smaller, but more frequent. In this case, quantity takes the place of grandeur. Similar to the desirability of courtship, the goals of courtship can be summed up as a dollar sign. In Jane Austen's time, the goal of courting someone was to marry them for their money, status, and in the Bennet's case, to elude poverty. The nature of entailment was such that women could be cheated out of their inheritance entirely, making marriage a necessity rather than a pleasure. On the other hand, courtship today often starts out without marital intention. It is done mostly for pleasure and passion. Sex is often the priority. However, some do aim for marriage, and those who do are looking for someone who makes them happier than they've ever been, an almost unheard of ideal in the former times. It is clear that the times have changed, and what we value, how we show it, and how we get it has changed as well. Though the present state of courtship may seem shallow in some instances, at least it is not based on something as petty as social class. The massive disparity between the era of Jane Austen and 2014 create an incompatibility with the application of most morals and lessons of the story. Though an entertaining tale, Pride and Prejudice lacks the relevance needed to merit a classroom read.